Hey guys, thank you for watching my channel today. I just want to talk about some topics because it seems as though during the BET Awards, everybody's in an uproar about the whole Jesse Williams speech, and because it came from a lighter skin, whether you want to call him mixed or biracial, the fact is that he's just as black as anybody. I normally don't get on these controversial or type of topics, but I think there needs to be some type of healthy debate because these types of things are bringing up the dysfunction, I believe, within the black community regarding colorism and holding on to different mentalities. And I think it's quite all right to voice your opinions. I am in no way, a historian or anything, but I can base it on my experiences and things and conversations I've had with people that I know in my life personally and the things that I've seen. So the reason why I'm not showing my face, if you've watched my previous videos, you'll already see what I look like. People tend to judge the person before they listen to the message. And so I don't want anybody having any preconceived notions of me and trying to state my opinion and perspective on a topic that I think is really important because I believe that it affects the African American community in America. I'm sure there's other things going on in other countries and other, whether it's Afro Europe or Afro China or Afro Latino, South America, Central America. Everybody has their own issues and things that they have to deal with. But since I'm an American, I'm going to deal with things that affect African Americans in America. So this whole thing with the Jesse Williams speech, and I'm seeing so much, even before this whole speech came about, just the commentary that I see on YouTube stating who is black and who is not, and you're not black enough, and what represents being black in America. And to me, a person or people that would look at me, I get mistaken for a lot of things. I get mistaken for Latino, I get mistaken for Polynesian, I get mistaken for a lot of things. However, for me personally, being a multi-ethnic woman, I'm not going to deny myself that I don't have African ancestry. It's noticeable in my family photos where, hey, I'm pretty sure where we would like to know where we all came from, but unfortunately, I don't have that much information to go far back to trace my heritage because I've done it and it's only gone so far. However, I have photos in my family of the proof and the evidence that there is the African descent, the African heritage in my family. But that doesn't mean that I should be in denial of what makes me me, because I am made up of different cultures and ethnicities in my family. And I will be touching more on this in a separate video that I'll be doing. So please stay tuned for that one. However, everybody's in an uproar because of the whole Jesse Williams speech on the BET Awards, because he's speaking about black issues, African American issues in America that affect African American communities in America. And the main thing that African Americans, some, not all, some are behind him, but for those who are speaking against it, the fact that he's not a representation of what it means to be black or African American because he's biracial. He is qualified to speak on anything that has to do with what is part of his heritage. That whatever affects him affects the person who made him, the parent who made him. That never goes away. And I think people forget, like, when you're just because you are biracial or multi-ethnic, you are still, I don't care, and you're in America, if you have brown skin, I don't care if you're light, I don't care if if you're dark, even if you're Latino and you have more of a coarser pattern to your hair or whatever, they're going to automatically think that you're black. You're going to be put in the box. You're going to be put in the box that you're African American. That's just going to be it. My closest, my best friend is from Central America, but because she is of a darker brown skin tone, she is not seen as Latina. She has one parent from Honduras and one parent from Belize, but she's still going to get judged as being black African American. So my thing is like with the whole Jesse Williams thing, and especially for those men or women who date outside of black culture and produce biracial children, what are you going to tell your children that they are not black because they have one parent that is not black? No, you're going to teach your children about both cultures and to be proud of both cultures. Why should Jesse Williams be ashamed of his African descent or his participation in the African American community because he's biracial? Why should he be excluded? And I don't think he should be excluded at all. This is why in the African American community that we separate ourselves. We don't embrace each other. We know that in America we have been blended. I mean, there is no one in America that has not had some type of effect in being blended. You can claim and say, oh, I am fully black and fully African American. But in reality, that is just not the truth. That is so far from the truth of anything. If your family was enslaved, more than likely there were children born from a slave master. There were, different things that affected your lineage, even though further down the line it was melanin enriched. It became, less noticeable of any interference. But I bet if everybody in America took a freaking DNA test, we would find things that we didn't know. And a lot of people would be out of denial. So I think instead of us tearing each other down, I just think we need to embrace each other and stop being disunified. Stop, with the lack of unity in regards to who is black and who is not. I think if a person is not ashamed to say, hey, this is a part of me, this is a part of who I am, then there should be no reason why anybody should come along and say, you can't fight or speak for me because you're not a certain color. It's kind of like going back to where the whole paper bag test. It's like now it's the reverse. Before it was, if you're not lighter than this paper bag, then you cannot get the rights and privileges I do as a lighter person. Now it's if you're not darker than this brown paper bag, then you're not considered black. You're not considered a part of us. And so this whole thing starts to turn in on itself. And this reminds me of a discussion I had in my former African American history college course a couple of years ago, which of course my professor himself, having grown up in the South, coming from descendants of slavery and the stories, and the one thing that he said, and it was just the truth, is that black Americans are stuck in this old Negro slave conditioning. And if no one has read the Willie Lynch letter, then you might not know what I'm talking about. But I would advise you, encourage you to go read it. And the only way to stop is to say, hey, who am I to tell you that you're not black or African American, or you don't have African descent or heritage, and I am more of an African than you are? And who are we to, once we realize and stop, doing this to each other, then at that point we can have unity. But when we continue to have people who are just hating on each other because of our skin color, we have enough of that from other people that are doing that to us. I think this whole thing with the Jesse Williams, I think if anything, it doesn't matter who the message comes from. If someone says, hey, you know what, and they are a part and embody the African American community, and I'm not talking about people who fake black or fake African American or, but people who truly have a connection, then we should embrace them, because you have to remember it's not the person, but it's also the people that it affects in that person's life. And again, just bringing it back to the point of the fact that, yes, he can speak so passionately and with purpose about these issues that affect the African American community because one of his parents is affected by these issues. And it doesn't mean at some point in his life that he wasn't affected by these issues. I know myself, I have been affected by these issues. It didn't stop a old white man or neighbors in a apartment community, a living community, to call me the N-word as a child. It didn't stop people from doing hateful things as a child, even growing up, seeing the adversity that a person of color that is put in that box of who we are as African Americans being put into that box, and how we're treated. So it doesn't make a difference whether my skin tone is similar to yours, or my hair isn't as kinky, or or whatever grade of hair you have, 4C, all these letter grades, it doesn't matter. The point is that here in America, if we are presumed black, or we are presumed by these labels that we're African American, then that is what society sees us as. And so I think we just need to stop quarreling amongst ourselves about who is black and who is not, and be more accepting to what, through colonialism, through history, through time, has created, through cultural, whether it's mixing cultural, communities. If we could just focus on the fact that, it's not about who's light, who's dark, who's in between, what Hollywood cast is acceptable or whatever. The point is that we all come in all shades, hair colors, eye colors, etc. And so while we continue to argue about these issues and quarrel about these issues within the African American community, we are overlooking the more important issues. And matter of fact, while this is all going on and a man was killed the day after Independence Day, Black lives are being snuffed out while we're quarreling about who's light, who's dark, who's black enough to represent African Americans and the African American community. And if anybody can see how petty that is, then I think at that point we need to just really sit down and have a community talk and say enough is enough. So this is my 2 cents on all of this. Please embrace, subscribe, and like, and I will see you on the next episode.